Hey, hey, everyone. Welcome to the Thursday Live. I'm bringing it back into the Facebook group and on our business pages. Um, and thanks for your patience as I took the summer off and we came back, launched a couple of weeks ago. Just had an amazing experience with a lot of you that joined us for the launch. And now I wanted to kind of bring back these weekly lives, and I know Jeffrey will do the same thing. Um, Today, I wanted to bring in the word intuition, and there are a lot of healers and intuitive guides out there that can teach this and are more qualified to teach this than me. And at the same time, I think it's important sometimes to learn from people that are on the journey you're on. I'm not going to try to be pretend that I'm some sort of expert, but I'm going to share with you my heart and how I tap into my intuition and allow it to guide me, and what happens when I don't. And just really acknowledge that it is a part of our business if we let it, and what can come about the more you tap into it. So I just wanted to share a little bit of my own perspective with that. And today's training will be quick. If you're here live, though, I'd love to have you leave a comment so that I know you're here. I will try to bring this up somewhere so I can see, but since I'm streaming in a few places, I'm not going to be able to see your comment. I see, hi, Katie, and it's a Facebook user. So I'm like, hi, and I'll have to go find where you are watching this from and go back, and really say hi to you when I know who it is. But thank you so much for saying hi and for being here. And if this is a topic of interest to you, I want you to type intuition in the chat. And it's like it can just be of interest. You don't have to be a pro, you don't have to teach it, right? But you have to acknowledge, hey, there might be something here. All the way to, oh hell yeah, I know there's something here and I've got to start listening. I took a intuitive class with a dear friend of mine, Vanessa Tavernetti. She's in this group. And what it was for me was an opportunity. Awesome. Seen some people comment with the word intuition. That's great. What it was for me was an opportunity to acknowledge and call myself out on how many times my intuition told me to go this way and I ignored it because I didn't like what it was telling me. Right? So pop a one in the chat if you've done that. No blame, no shame, but just acknowledge, like, yeah, I do that. And the reason why it's important to acknowledge it is because at the same time you're acknowledging, what that little voice inside sounds like. You already know. You know how the messages get delivered. I mean, I feel sometimes so spiritually supported. And I really don't talk spirituality much in the public eye, but my dad passed away in 2015, and I like firmly believe that man is with me every day. And I just see little like God winks from him, whether I'm driving my mom somewhere and we find a good parking spot, or just things come up that just had to be divinely inspired, right? So I have that spiritual side. And I think it's really important that you remember that you can tap into yourself. So I've got a few resources I wanted to share with you. First one is I pulled a card for today. I pulled a card from this deck called The Universe Has Your Back, Gabrielle Bernstein. And the card I picked says, let's see, I am the loving energy of the universe. And at first I was like, is this related to my talk? I'm not sure, right? So I'll share it again. I am the loving energy of the universe. And then I thought, of course it's related, because the loving energy of the universe is being sent to you through you, divinely you, and it shows up as your intuition. So a lot of times when it comes to your business, you might get inspired. And like what's so funny is my inspiration comes in the shower, which I learned scientifically makes sense that the pounding of the water on your head actually opens up something in your brain. Again, I'm no pro, but I remember hearing that and saying, "Oh, that's pretty." It's like a sensor, opens up sensors in your brain. Um, I also get divinely inspired when I'm doing the dishes and when I'm weeding. And those two instances, my hands are dirty or full, and I don't necessarily have a pen and paper, or I don't want to grab my phone with my dirty hand or my wet hand to take notes, right? And so I'm often like, oh, what a good idea. Remind me later. And sometimes it's worth it to wipe your hands and go write it down right then, right? It's your job to take the message and record it when you get it. Um, if you've ever read Big Magic, I think it is, she talks about how, like, you might get a divinely inspired idea, but if you don't take action, then the idea gets taken away from you and given to someone else. So it's your job to write that down. Um, but that was one of the things I wanted to share that card. And another was just some of my practices that I like to do. So pulling cards is one. I'm a big crystal person. I've got a little piece of citrine over here and my little quartz crystal. And let's see, I've got a heart rose quartz. So if I'm trying to listen, and sometimes it's hard to listen, would you agree, when you're frazzled? Maybe you had an event that didn't go well, or a sales call that didn't go well, or maybe you had a team member leave in a huff, or a client that's upset with you, or something that's going on at home, right? And so you just feel a little frazzled. And when I need to calm myself so that I can hear, like, what's the gift here? Or where's the love in the situation, right? Like when someone walks away angry at you or you're feeling angry at them, if I bring myself back to love, where's the love in the situation? I often need something in my hand, like a little pointy thing that just, I don't know, it like brings me back to like the present, but like also just it takes my mind out of here and into the present. Like here, I'm asking for my guidance with, some sort of rock in my hand. Um, I've got candles behind me. I've got books all over the place, music. I've got a chair in that little corner. I don't know if you can see it. This way, little chair over there. So I have to first calm myself down and ask that question, where's the love in the situation? Because, Jeffrey and I always joke, his moods, are like this. And mine are like, yeah, yeah. Right. I'm a passionate Leo. And I get like passionately excited and passionately pissed. And I have to ground myself and calm down and ask that question, where's the love in the situation? Um, and then I have learned a lot. Like the beginning of my coaching career was all about intuition, quantum leaps, the mastery of your imagination, visioning, right? So I have a pretty good sense of that and have used that over the years. And one of my favorite books that I got during that time is called U Squared by Price Pritchett. And I don't want to go off on a tangent, but I wanted to read just the very last part of this book. So he says, look inside for the opportunity. So everything else that's needed right now comes from inside you. The opportunity, the timing, the power to perform, these are in you, not in the situation. The formula for U squared, the strategy for making the quantum leap, has been covered here in this book. Very small book, by the way, pamphlet book. You can probably get it for $2 online. You have the answers. The answers to questions that remain must come from the voice within. And now you must listen to yourself. Those are the sounds no one else can hear. Your dreams, your desires, the thoughts that burn the hottest in your mind, they carry the messages that help you find your own magnetic north. They point the way toward the breakthrough to U squared. So look inside at what pulls at your consciousness, for there you'll find direction. Everything else is in position, waiting for you. Just do it. Make the quantum leap. So again, U squared, Price Pritchett, love that book. But I just love that message because as a business coach, I'm often asked, what should I do? What do you think? And of course, that's why people hire me. No, I love sharing what I've learned, what I've practiced myself, what I've found in my own practices, and all that. Um, but I always encourage people like stay with your intuition. If your intuition is guiding you to do something different than what I recommend, let's look at that because sometimes your intuition's going to know more than me, right? And so um, just know that these voices are happening. And here's a couple activities I wanted to bring for you to practice if this is something you want to open yourself up to. And again, like I said, there are lots of people teaching this that are probably more qualified than me. But this is stuff that I've done that I found really helpful as someone who has never identified as a healer myself, right? Awesome. So somebody is saying, yes, I'm a Reiki master healer. I use crystals and my intuitive. So some people are really well versed in this, and others, if you're anything like me, it was like I was afraid to tap into that because I didn't want to be fake or pretend. I didn't realize that it was all about like permission, giving myself permission to dig into something I've never done before. Right. And so, anyway, these were some practices that I did about 10, 11, 12 years ago that helped me. And I wanted to share those with you. So, your intuition, otherwise known as like that inner voice, or some people call it the voice of truth, right? And by the way, the voice of truth or your inner voice is never unkind, ever, ever unkind to you, right? There's no shoulds, should haves. It's not that at all. It's just kind of a, go do this thing. So write down one of the activities. You don't have to do it now, but maybe just jot down my directions and you can do this later. But if you spend time writing down a few recurring thoughts that come to your mind when you allow yourself to calm down and hear it, what are the things that are coming in? Now, of course, at the launch squad, I want to hear you say, "Psst, launching. You should launch," because I really believe that's one of the best ways to build your business. But that might not be true for you, right? So if you were to ask your intuition, what's my next step for getting new clients? What's my next step for my, next $10,000 month or $20,000 month, right? Or what's my next step in something that scares me? What's my next step? Jeffrey and I recorded a podcast with somebody a week or so ago, and she talked about intuition. And in fact, I'll link um, the episode in the chat today so you can take a look at it. But she was saying that like if I were to pose that question right now, what's one thing that you like could be doing in your business that you're not currently doing that would make all the difference? And at the same time, Jeffrey and I were like, oh, I already know what it is. Because she was like, write the first thing that comes to your mind. That's how quick this is. You don't have to meditate for 30 minutes to get the answer. You probably already know it, right? But write down a few of those recurring thoughts. That's one of the activities. Another activity is acknowledge already 5 instances where you already recognized your inner voice speaking to you. And this does not have to be business related. It's, "Psst, go this way instead of that way, even though whatever way I pointed, even though one way is the way you always go, you had divine guidance, the voice of truth that told you to go the other way. And so you did or didn't, right? Because sometimes, like I said, we get that intuition and we don't pay attention to it. We blow it off. We think, oh, I don't want to go that way. That way's longer. Right. And then you get stuck in traffic because there's an accident and you're like, damn it. Why didn't I listen? So write down 5 instances where you heard the voice and you heard it. And whether you listened or not, you proved to yourself later, I should have listened and I didn't, or thank goodness I listened because now this happened. Um, Let me just give you a couple examples. Simply going to a networking event and maybe you didn't feel like it. I live in Colorado. And so in the winter, if it's snowing or really cold, especially in the beginning of the winter when I'm used to fall and it's sunny, not that bad. And then we get our first like gray, snowy, icy day. And I might have had that, networking event on my calendar for weeks and I might have been really looking forward to it. But because of the weather, I might be like, I don't want to. Now, mind you, I have a very safe car, all-wheel drive, snow tires. It's not like I'm concerned for my safety. It's just that like I'm cold, right? And, oh, I don't want to. And then I might get this intuition that says, you got to go. And I've just been learning more and more to say, okay, I don't know why, but I got to go. And I don't necessarily have to go home that night with an answer either, right? The answer is going to show itself later on. And sometimes you might not even know. You might not know the domino effect that happened, but it could be you met Kathy at a networking event and you told Kathy what you do. I help coaches and course creators launch their product or service or program online. And I talk about funnels and I help them figure out their free gift and da da da. We build all the pages for them. And now I told, someone named Kathy that, and she's a realtor. She doesn't need me at all. Right. But who knows? I didn't know, but Kathy went home that night and called her best friend Joe, who does the exact thing that I do, and said, "Oh my gosh, I just met a gal at the event. You should follow this person." And then all of a sudden I see Joe. Joe came into my email list and downloaded my free thing. I have no idea that Joe came from Kathy. Right? Now, this is just a made up story, but I'm just saying you don't always see why you had to do that or what was the outcome. So I don't want you to always look for that. And if you didn't find the outcome, say, oh, that was my wrong intuition. Allow it to be a magical thing that happened that sometimes you just don't see. Right. Um, so another example of hearing that intuition and going for it. Um, you know, I'll bring up a launch. So, Jeffrey and I just did a 5-day free training. Actually, it was 9 days long, but 5 days, and we gave some bonus days. And when we planned for that, that was divinely guided. That was a conversation that we had in June or July. And I was very clear that we needed to host an event, and I was very clear when it needed to happen. And I was very clear that we had to get it on the calendar to kind of move that project forward. And then, we followed through. And so it's just when I'm asking myself on the off days, because sometimes I'm in this chair and I'm just putting out fires all day long. And, as much as I'd love to say I have a really great block schedule, sometimes that block schedule goes away and I'm just, responding all day long. And I go home at like 6 o'clock at night and I'm like, oh my gosh, I haven't even had time to breathe. And so I find that my divine guidance comes when I can finally calm down. And that's why it's when I'm weeding or when I'm in the shower or when I'm washing the dishes, because I'm finally giving my brain a chance to not respond or react, but instead like go inside and give me the messages I need. So just I want you to write down 5 instances where you are like, yep, I already know that intuition comes my way, and here are 5 examples of when I either listened or didn't, and here's what happened. Um, and then one of the things we teach about all the time, is around that whole, who do you have to be so that you can do the action you need to take so that you can have the result that you want? And often people mix it up and they start with the result. And they don't realize they're doing this, but you hear yourself say, when I have more money, I can then do a thing like spend money on Facebook ads or hire a coach or get a new website, right? And then I'll have, when I have more money, then I'll do this thing and then I'll be successful. And so it's backwards because you're always waiting for a result, but you're never going to get the result of money and success if you don't do things, right? And you have to be someone who does those things. And so if you were to transition yourself out of a to-do list and into a to-be list, who am I going to be today to get the thing I'm looking for, the thing I'm asking my intuition about. Who do I need to be? It's a very different way to start your day. It's a very different way to, go about your day and to end your day and ask yourself, was I that person? And because I was that person, what happened? Right. So that's another little exercise you can do. Um, and finally, if you think about, these outside circumstances that are kind of in your way, that make what you want feel impossible. It's like you got to do a brain dump in one box. You have two boxes on a piece of paper. You do a brain dump on one box, where you think of a time when all the outside circumstances of something were just not possible. And it might be a personal example, or it might be one of someone that you know. And write down all the reasons that this idea was said to be impossible. Like, I can't believe that actually happened. And then in the other box on the right side, list the ways that you or whoever you're thinking of made it possible. Because just a little exercise like that, where you get to see what appears to be impossible can actually happen, right? When you change the story in your mind, when you ask different questions, when you become and act like a different person, you get different results. And as just to wrap it back up with the U squared book, right? As he said, everything else that's needed right now comes from inside of you. Inside of you, the opportunity, the timing, the power to perform. These are in you, not in the situation. And so it's all about you training your mind to say, show me the way. I had cut something out of a magazine years ago. I think it was an Oprah magazine, and Martha Beck had a life coaching section. And that was one of the things I cut out, was just the reminder to say, show me the way to that. I don't know. I can't see it. I might feel tired, beat down, broke, disappointed. And when I'm in that space for whatever reason, not just business, but just life in general, right? When I'm in that space, I have a really hard time seeing my way out of it or planning my way out of it. And so it's just that vulnerability and understanding you're not alone. You have that source, right? That card that I pulled earlier. I am the loving energy of the universe. Put that over there so it's not covering my face. Let's see. I am the loving energy of the universe. Everything is energy. If you are here with us on these pages that we're going live on, you believe that. That's who we attract into our world, because that's what we believe. Everything is energy. And so when you're stuck in the muck, you have to remind yourself to tap into the energy of pure potential. And that's from up out here. And that's why this kind of stuff helps me remind me, if this could come from the core of the earth, right? If some sort of magical process could make this thing something so cool, such a cool shape that seems to fit right in the palm of my hand, because that's exactly why I picked it. I don't know about you, but when I go buy crystals at a shop or at a show, I have to pick up and touch many and have them in my hand and ask which is the right one for me. But knowing that everything is energy and you have access to resources and potential and ideas that come from your intuition. And so the more you tap into it, the better off your business will be. So awesome. I'm glad you like that book. I can't agree more. And again, you guys, U squared, Price Pritchett, tiny book. Look how small that is. It would take you like less than an hour to read the whole thing. And it's just something you just want on your shelf to read more than once. But that's what intuition has to do with your business, pretty much everything. I hope this inspired you to just go on your own journey with it. You don't have to be a pro. Although I do recommend hiring someone or taking a course if you're really interested and you've got the time and, you can feel that divine guidance to go for it, go for it. But if you're like, I can't take on another thing, this is still a practice, just like meditation, just like yoga, going to the gym, eating healthy. This is a choice and a practice you can tap into every day that doesn't have to cost you a dime. and just know the times when you're probably not hearing your intuition. So for me, it's when I'm going, going, going all day long as the CEO of the launch squad. But instead, it's during these mundane tasks where my brain gets a chance to calm down and I am finally quiet. And that's when I get my guidance. So notice for you, when do you get yours? And then make a special effort, even if you're driving your car, pull over and write it down because I promise you, even though you think, oh, that's a good idea, I'll remember that. I promise you, you will not. So write it down and commit to taking action and listening. Is that has been the biggest lesson for me is not do I have it? Of course I do. I've known it my whole life. But my lesson was you better start listening. All right, everyone. We'll see you again next week. Have a great day. Thank you for being here.